Ladies, I am having an epiphany. The world is made up of two types of women, the simple girls and the Katie girls.
You want a voice from above?
I'm a Katie. Just tell me I'm the one.
Thanks.
Oh! Somebody stop him! He took my strappy sandals! You said you loved me.
I do.
Then why does it hurt so fucking much? I spent $40,000 on shoes and I have no place to live? I will literally be the old woman who lived in her shoes. His name was Aiden Shaw. He was warm, masculine, and classic American. Just like his furniture. Jesus Christ, the dog. Wait. Have you ever been in love?
Abso-fucking-lutely.
Hello friends. Okay, I am so excited because this is a vlog that I have been planning for so long. It is, as you can tell probably by the intro and the title, a Sex and the City inspired writing vlog. So this whole idea came to be because it is to celebrate my 35th birthday, and Sex and the City is my favorite show basically of all time, and so I thought it would be fun. Originally the idea was to write like Carrie Bradshaw for 1 week, but with my schedule and my life that just didn't seem to be possible. So I've kind of tweaked it, and I think this is going to actually work out so much better. So essentially I'm going to try to write like Carrie Bradshaw to complete the second act of my script. So for those of you that don't know what Sex and the City is, it was a very popular show on HBO. It ran from like 98 to 2004, and then it had 2 movies, one amazing, one we won't even discuss. And Carrie Bradshaw plays a columnist for a newspaper called the New York Star, and she's like a relationship and sex columnist. So she just talks about relationships and love and sex and all of that stuff. So how do I transition that to writing a script? Well, by treating my second act like a column, right? I'm also going to be breaking up kind of the different tasks I have to do by the different seasons in the show and with different outfits. So today's outfit is inspired by Carrie Bradshaw's white tutu, pink skirt in the intro of every episode. And I'll have little costume changes. You will check in with some of my girlfriends where we had some fun conversations in which we like chatted and answered some of my favorite Carrie Bradshaw column questions throughout the series. And I'm gonna write, obviously. So for this first season 1 section, I'm gonna be doing an edit because, as I talked about in my last vlog, I need to really cut down some of the things that I wrote in that vlog. So I'm gonna do some edits, and then later on I will be doing some outlines and breaking down, writing different scenes. And the goal is that by the end of this vlog, I will have completed the second act and it will be ready to print. So while I'm reading the script and going through all 43 pages I have to cut down, I'm going to have you guys check in with Railee Bradshaw, who is my Charlotte. I have Hudson McCarthy, who is my Miranda, and of course Diane Marie is a combination of both. So I think we named her Charanda or something. So I'm going to start reading and you will see what fun we got into for season 1. So I think I decided the question that I liked the most from the first season is, in a city of great expectations, is it time to settle for what you can get? And so we kind of had this conversation already, but I think that we could approach that like in any way, like in a relationship. Should you settle for what you can get? No, never. Like you never settle for anything. But like in life, you're being offered a job, should you settle? Like, I don't know.
I think it just depends on the situation and the desperation you feel.
But like,
for example, during a pandemic when jobs are hard to come by, maybe for a time you could settle for a job that you wouldn't normally take just to get you to a point where you can get something better. And I think you have to look at that too. Like, is this something that is eventually going to help me to get to where I want to go? And like, you know, can I settle for this now to help me to get there? But if it's something where I don't want to get stuck doing this thing, I don't think you should settle.
Yeah. I think job-wise, there is really no settling because you can always like still apply for something else while you're there and then transfer. I feel like the only place where you really could settle, where it would be extremely unfair, is if it was through dating, like just being with someone because you're lonely. And in that case, I would say no. But job-wise, I just don't see that as settled, because it's not for everything.
And I think that in a relationship you can settle, but you shouldn't settle.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has the ability to be like, hey, this guy is not good for me, but I don't want to be alone.
Yeah.
Well, and then that's not fair to the guy who, like, he could be somebody else's greatest ambition,
Right? Right.
And wasting his time by settling on him when he could move on to somebody who would really appreciate him.
Right.
See, I always thought, like, let's say you did so, like, how there are those films of women who don't think that they're going to find someone, so then they ask, like, their friend or someone they know to, like, donate to so they could be pregnant and have a kid. I always think, well, in that moment you're going to find your person, and then that's going to ruin that friendship somehow, and it's so unfair. So, like, don't risk it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't like the idea of settling. I don't know. I feel like there's like a line between like appreciating what you have, but if it's something where you're not happy, then settling it's going to be so unfulfilling and you're going to regret it. So I feel like if you I don't know, if you feel like you can, like, there's better out there or you want better, I think it's always worth it to keep trying. Like in anything, like in love, in in writing, in your career, like in everything. If you have that drive and if you feel like there's something better for you, then settling just isn't, it's not worth it. It's not worth it.
And we kind of had this conversation earlier too, like transitioning that into like, well, because this is such a like open-ended question. Like I know, obviously, watching the series, like what she was referring to was the fact that like she wanted to have a commitment from Mr. Big, and he didn't want to give her that commitment, and so should she just settle for what little amounts he was willing to give her? But like again, like I like that just looking at a question like this, in taking it in any context, is we could think about like in publishing, like we all want to have our stories out there. We all want to have, like I want somebody to be like, yes, I want to take your show and make it a show, or like I want to publish your book or whatever. But I have no idea what a good offer would even be. Or if you've been querying and querying and querying, and then you finally get a yes from an agent, but it's not one that you really like get a good vibe from, or you just don't feel like it's the right agent for you, should you just agree to work with that agent because they're the only person that has shown interest, but you don't get a good feeling? Or should you just hold out and just keep querying, knowing that there might not be, I mean, I'm sure there's going to be another person, but because you guys are all amazing, but in general, like there's that fear that if you don't take this offer that's being offered right now, there's not going to be another one, because this is a highly competitive and very difficult industry to try to get into.
Mm-hmm.
And the nice thing with the novel world is that you can self-publish, but that's a lot of work for potentially not a lot of people to see it, because you don't have, in traditional publishing, you have these big publishing houses, or you have someone else working to make sure people read your book.
Mm-hmm.
When you're self-publishing, that person is you. So yes, there is still a way, if you don't get the offer, to still make sure your story is published, but maybe not in the way you want. So should you settle for the agent or settle for the deal because it's being offered, or should you reject it because it's not the right fit or the right value for what you think it's worth?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm definitely like a more, like I really base a lot of my choices and my decisions on how I feel about something, like intuitively. So, but then it's also like I'm also coming from a place of I'm a little more privileged. So like sometimes I have the ability to hold off on things. So in a case like that, um, if I'm really in need of like money, or like, I'm a starving artist and I really need to like sell a book, then I mean, I can understand how someone would settle for like an agent that doesn't really feel exactly right, but is like an offer, like they need that right now. I can see that. But if you're in a different kind of position, then I definitely go a lot more for like how I feel about things. So if I feel like it's not right, then I won't do it. But
Yeah, I would agree with that. I definitely go off of my gut feeling a lot. And any time that I have ignored my gut feeling, I pretty much always have regretted it. So I think it depends on the situation totally. Like, is this something that I really need right now? Or is this something that I can afford to wait on and wait until I feel really good about it? And I feel like in most cases, holding off is a good thing if that's what your gut is telling you to do.
yeah. Yeah.
Kind of all similar. I don't know. This is kind of one of my worst fears, so I try not to think about it.
I know, it's scary. I mean,
But
it's scary.
I would like to think, I mean, this is such a fairy book response, I guess, fairy tale response, but like I'd like to think that when I did my research for everyone who I applied to, it was spot on. So I won't have that issue, but real life isn't like that, so.
Also good to just acknowledge that you will make mistakes and that it's not the end of the world.
Yeah. That's a good point.
I don't know what I would do. I mean, I think part of it's because I don't know, like I wouldn't know the difference. Like if somebody was like, hey, this is how much we're gonna pay you for your script, that could be great, or that could be a garbage offer, and I just sold my baby for significantly less than I should have. Or I worked with somebody that wasn't right, because I don't know. I have no idea. Like, but ideally the idea is that you would have somebody that is a good fit to help navigate those that's the whole point of why you have to have an agent, or why you have to have somebody that you're working with to help tell you, like, hey, you got this offer, don't take it.
Yeah.
Or you got this offer and this is the best you're ever going to get. So you should take it because this is middle road, this is average, this is better than you're ever going to get, or like whatever. Ideally, like that you found the right person to work with. But I know that there's also a lot of sharks out there that take advantage of people like me that don't know any better. So and that's the scary part, especially because for me, I do have two very different worlds that I'm trying to like exist within, or try to like sell within, like because the TV side of things and like films is incredibly different in how you get your foot in the door than how you get your foot in the door with publishing a novel. Like those two things are vastly different and difficult in their own way. So, and I feel like there are probably more shady people on like the TV film side than there would be on the like novel. Because I mean, it's pretty easy to find like, hey, these are people that help, these are literary agents. And then there's like, if you try to look up like what's the closest equivalent to that, because there are people like that are very similar to what a literary agent will do, that their job is to help you find an agent, help you sell your script. But there's so many people that for every 100 people you find, 50 of them could be fake people that don't have any credentials and can't help you do anything. And how is little old me in Portland, Oregon going to tell the difference?
Yeah, it's scary. It's hard, like, it's hard to tell, and like especially in like, the film and television industry. It's difficult to navigate because there are a lot of like there are a lot of good people, but there's also just a lot of people who are shitty and just trying to like get ahead or whatever. Like it's hard to navigate.
for sure.
All right, so I just finished editing. I'm so proud of myself. I cut that down from from 43 pages down to 29 pages, which is so much closer to being in line with where I need to be in a second act. It's still a little long, and so I can do some further edits. There were some things that I wrote down on paper that I did not want to transition onto the computer just for time purposes. So there's some extra edits that I can do, but the core things, like the big scenes I need to just rip out of the script, are gone, and now I can work on my outline. So I'm gonna go and change my clothes and get to the next step.
I'm here. Now, what's going on?
I've done the merry-go-round. I've been through the revolving door. I feel like I met somebody I can stand still with for a minute, and don't you want to stand still with me?
You dragged me out to a park at 3 in the morning to ask me if I want to stand still with you?
Yes. So, we are now on season 2 of Sex and the City. So, I've decided to model this section's kind of look after super casual Carrie. So, throughout most of the series, you're going to see her wearing designer clothes, going out, wearing cute little dresses, fancy shoes, and the whole thing. But Carrie is a writer, and nobody's going to sit there in a designer gown writing in their apartment. So one thing I love about the series is that you do get to see her in her natural habitat, just relaxed, writing her column quite often. Okay, so what I decided to do was just kind of try to do my best version of casual Carrie, which is a messy bun, very minimal makeup, and then she usually is wearing, like when she's just hanging out in her apartment, she likes to wear those like white ribbed men's tank tops. I don't have a white one. I stole my husband's black one, and that's just gonna have to do. And then she's usually wearing some sort of like shorts. There are even episodes where you see her basically writing in a bra and panties, which I'm definitely not gonna do and I'm definitely not gonna do on YouTube. There was also an episode, I think in season 3 or 4, where she was wearing writing gloves, which I got so excited about because I live for writing gloves. Hers were black, like blue and white and kind of tie-dyed. I don't have those. So the best I could do was, I have a pair of white ones and I have a pair of black ones. But I couldn't find the same ones. So I decided to mix and match, which felt very Carrie to me because she has a very eclectic fashion sense and she doesn't always match. So I've got some just chill like leggings on and my writing gloves, and I've got a tank top, and now I'm ready to go ahead and dig into my outline. So with this section of the vlog, we're going to be working on my Act 2 outline. So I've already done the edits and pared everything down so I can see really where I'm going to be ending Act 1 and making sure that the first section that I have written of this script is, not perfect, but it doesn't have all these extra scenes and it's not extra long. And now I can go in and really be intentional about what I am writing. Because since we're modeling this Act 2, or the second act, as one of her columns, she doesn't have time to go around and add a bunch of junk that doesn't need to be in her article that then has to be edited and taken out. It's a weekly column. She has to come up with her concept, she has to write it, she has to edit it, she has to send it to her editor, and then maybe do some minor edits after that before it goes to print. And so there's no time for extra fluff. And so I feel like she might not work off of an outline, but because I'm not writing a column, I am writing a script, I need to write and be more intentional about the outline that I have. So that's what I'm going to do right now is I'm only going to focus on the second act and getting that outline scene by scene, every single scene that I want to write and where I need this to go, and make sure that I'm leading up to the third act correctly so I don't have to go back and continue to do this editing process every time I want to move on to another point in the story. So just like we did earlier, while I'm working on this outline, you're going to go ahead and watch with that super fun and amazing chat that I had with
What I liked was, can you change a man?
I don't think you should be with someone that you want to change.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things where, like, whether or not you can isn't the question. It's whether or not you want to, and if you want to, then you don't like him, you like the idea of him, and that's unfair to him.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
Mm-hmm.
I would agree 100%.
I mean, I think you can and you can't. I mean, for the original question, can you change a man? Yes and no. You can't change somebody that doesn't want to change, and you can't change things about somebody that they don't already want to change. But I think in life, like as you're in long-term relationships, people do change, and you can, in that sense, change a man. Like when I met my husband, he was 21, living in his parents' garage, and I don't know, dating a lot of different girls. And then like we started dating. We had like one day, we've been together ever since. And then I mean, we've been together 11 years, and it hasn't been all sunshine and roses all the time. But like in that initial relationship, like he started changing a little bit because he wasn't going out all the time. He was just hanging out with me at the house all the time. And now we have kids and we have all these different things. So in the course of our relationship, he has changed a lot, as have I. Like I'm definitely not the same person I was when we met when I was 22 years old.
But I think that there's a difference between the word change and grow.
Yeah.
So like, it sounds like he grew because obviously you met when he was 21, as you said, and from math, he's in his early 30s now, I take it.
Yeah.
So I feel like to me, change is like you saying you need to change, you need to do this, but growth is like, this is just natural maturing, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, hopefully everyone grows. That's another issue in itself if they weren't growing.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's inevitable that when you're in a relationship, you're both going to change to some extent, but I think that's the difference of like, oh, I would really like him if this were different about him and this were different about him. And I think that's what people usually mean when they say they want to change somebody. Like, I want to change him to fit me better. But I think you find somebody who fits, and then as you're working in a committed relationship, you're continually adjusting to each other. But I think that's the key. You have to be adjusting to each other. Like you're both changing and growing together, as opposed to I'm going to be who I am and I need him to change to fit me. I think that's like the difference.
I remember my mom always told me that the person who you enter into it, no, not my mom, my grandma told me this, sorry, that whatever someone is like when you enter the relationship, you cannot get mad at them for staying that way because you chose that.
Oh my God, I tell my husband that all the time when he complains about the fact that I lose stuff. I'm like, dude, you chose me, dude. You knew I lose stuff. Like, I lose stuff. Yes, I lost my keys. Yes, I've lost my camera. Still, I've not found the camera, you guys. I lose things constantly, and that has never changed because I've been losing stuff since I was like a child. Like, I'm never gonna stop losing things. If anything, it's going to become worse as I continue to get older. So.
Yeah, like you can choose to leave because you don't want to deal with that anymore, but you can't be mad at them. Like if you choose to leave, you can't like go on this rant being like, well, it's their fault, they never did this, and it's like, well, they were doing that before you met them, so yeah, you chose to leave,
right?
Yeah, I don't know.
I think it's good, and I think I like your distinction between can you change a person and grow.
And I feel like, I mean, yeah, it's definitely. I don't think that you should go into something being like, okay, because people aren't projects, right? Like you can't like be like, oh, I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna change everything about it to suit me, like Railee was saying. But I feel like people are constantly changing to some degree, like. Growth, right? And I feel like in relationships there's also there also is compromise, and there are like things like as you're like Railee was saying, like as you're together and growing together, like you're learning how to be with each other. There's a bit of a learning curve with being in a relationship. So like I don't think you can like change somebody. Like I don't think you should set out and be like, I'm gonna change this person. But I think there's definitely room for there definitely is room for change and like molding like as you get together, because there isn't always someone who is gonna completely fit right away exactly perfectly. Like you have to kind of learn each other. You have to learn how to be together and that dynamic and stuff. So there is an element of change and of growth and evolution in that relationship. But I don't think anyone should be setting out to change anybody else, like especially on like a fundamental level, like really like changing characteristics about them. Like that's just kind of how they are. Yeah.
All right, so I have written the outline. I'm so excited. I really am happy with what I put into it. It's not too detailed because I don't want to spend too much time writing an outline when I could be writing the scenes. And so I did want to make sure though that I had every point that I see in my mind and that I was detailed enough to be able to know where to go moving forward. I think it's going to be great because it has a lot of emotion in it, and so I think that it's something that's really going to help lead into the next section. So basically this pilot episode is really to set up everything that we're going to see and where we're going to be for the next, who knows how many seasons that this show could be on the air, right? And so the first act was really about introducing you to Rebecca and showing this big, huge, inciting incident that now sends her from LA to her hometown, where we're going to spend the rest of the series. And so the first act was kind of setting up that and the inciting incident. And the second act is about showing her reaction to that and how this decision to leave LA and kind of go underground comes to be, and how she gets to that point to make that decision that she can't be in LA anymore and she needs to hide. And so I think originally the way that I was originally kind of breaking down the different acts, it was completely different. Act 1 was much longer, Act 2 was much longer, and had a lot of stuff that's now going to be in Act 3 in it. And I think that after I did these edits, I'm so glad that I did the edits earlier, because now that I've done those and I started working on my outline, I realized that the second act really just needs to focus on that one piece, which is her decision to leave LA and go to this other town to hide from her life. And so I'm really, really happy with the work that I've done. And now I am even more excited to continue writing my column, aka the
Calla
second act.
lilies tied with a red ribbon.
Well, that's nice.
And as she walked down the aisle, a saxophone played When a Man Loves a Woman. Well, that's tacky.
No, that's big. Jesus. What I wouldn't give for a working fireplace.
He wasn't the right man for you.
I know that. I know. It's not him. It's the whole wedding. And it's her. It's her. She's just... she's shiny haired, style section, Vera Wang, and I'm, the sex column they run next to ads for penile implants.
So now we are moving on to season 3, which is really where I feel personally, if you're watching the series, that it starts to get really, really good. When I started wanting to do like more research for this vlog, when I came up with it, I was like, I'm just gonna skip around and watch a few episodes from each season. But once you get almost halfway through this season, like I just had to watch them all. Like I didn't skip any episodes for the rest of the series. So I wanted to show you kind of what I chose to wear to represent season 3. Alright, so you can't really see all of it, but this is just like a very plain like dress. does go down to just above my knees. I like this because in the beginning of season 3, and then I've got this like weird kind of flower that I pinned on here because one of the first episodes in the season, Carrie starts to date a politician. And every time she goes out to one of his campaign events, his little like advisor, associate guy is constantly trying to get her to pin one of his pins on her shirt. So then she starts wearing these flowers so that she can hide the like politician's pin behind a giant flower. So I thought this would be fun. Oh, and then here are the shoes. I'm going to show them to you now because again, I don't have like a full like mirror to like do like the whole like outfit of the day type look that you would normally, or like shot you would normally do. So I thought I would just show you the shoes I'm going to wear while writing the next section of my script. So these are so cute. I love these. I almost never wear them though because they are really high and really uncomfortable. But I feel like these are ones that Carrie would just go nuts for. So that's what I'm going to put on right now. And then we're going to start writing. So once I finish my outline, I really have, looking at the outline, I have about 7 scenes that I have to write. One of them I've kind of already like written about 80% of it. So I just kind of have to finish up what I started on that scene and then work on the next one. So that's kind of what I'm going to do for season 3 is get those 2 scenes written. Let's go with this one. When it comes to relationships, is it smarter to follow your heart or your head?
Oh, your head.
Really?
Yeah.
I would say your heart, because isn't that, I mean, if you're following your head, doesn't that kind of like contradict some of the things we've already talked about in like in terms of like if you're settling with somebody, you know what I mean? Like if you're following your head, then you're not really following your heart and you're not following your gut. Right?
No, I feel like your heart is like rose-colored glasses and your head sees the truth. Like when you it's kind of like that difference between lust and love. I mean, this might be a controversial opinion, but I don't believe in love at first sight. I think scientifically speaking, it takes 4 months to fall in love with someone, like as far as your like hormones and like dopamine levels, which is a really fascinating thing to learn how that happens. But so like I feel like your heart is more connected to the lust because those first 4 months, love at first sight is really just lust. And then through those 4 months, your brain starts to get to know the person, and then that's how you fall in love. So I feel like it's a brain decision. I don't know.
I feel like that too. I feel like it's kind of like, well, would you make a big decision when you're under the influence of alcohol or something like that? And I feel like infatuation can be kind of like that. It's like a drug. And so while it's fun for a little while, like you shouldn't make any big decisions based on that. And so I feel like when it comes down to, you know, making decisions about relationships, you got to use your head and be aware of the fact that you are under the influence a little bit of a drug.
Oh, that's a good way to think about
I feel
it.
like I think you need a good balance of both. I don't think you should just go with one all the way. Like I think they also, I mean, I think they work together a lot. Like I don't know. I mean, I know that for me, I overthink things. And I know that sometimes I don't even know the difference. I don't even know which one's actually talking to me, but I know for a fact that like I overthink things a lot. And that's not very, I mean, I've had it both ways, but like I'll overthink things and it doesn't make me happy. You know, like what I end up doing doesn't actually fulfill me. Like it doesn't make me feel good. And I kind of like, I would wish that like I had gone with like what my heart was telling me. But then also I've had it the other way around where it's like, damn, I should not have done that. Oh my God.
I see my brain and my gut as one and the same because your gut affects your brain and like, and then vice versa. So like I'm chronically ill, and if I don't eat well, then my brain gets fogged up.
Yeah.
So I see my gut connected to my brain. My gut isn't connected to my heart. But I also think that has to go off of what type of person you are, because there are more like brain heavy people and heart heavy people. So I think also we have to take that into consideration, where like neither are wrong or right. It's just what part of us do we trust more?
Mm-hmm.
I don't trust my heart compared to my brain.
Yeah.
Charlotte's story kind of goes along with that a little bit, because it sounds like with her first marriage, she was completely going off of what sounded smart to her and not paying at all attention to what maybe felt right. And maybe that's what you're talking about when you talk about like your heart versus your head, like what actually feels right in your heart compared to what sounds good on paper.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be an important distinction too, because if you are choosing to be in a relationship with someone just because they look good on paper, but you're not really feeling it in your heart at all, like there's no attraction there, that wouldn't be a good thing either. But I feel like that's something you should be able to reason out in your head too. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think Dan Marie is right. I think it is kind of a mixture of both, because you can't lead 100% with your heart, because that could get you into a lot of trouble. And you can't lead 100% with your head, because then you can be overthinking things or closing yourself off from something great. Like when I moved here to Oregon, it was very fast. It was like my sister was moving up here, and we were never close, and then we started getting closer, and she was like, hey, I'm moving to Portland, and I was like, well, that sucks. And then she called me a few days later, and her husband was already up here like looking for work, and she was like, hey, like we were talking about, you should come with us. And I was like, no, like maybe I'll like come visit once you guys get settled. And she's like, okay. A couple days later, she's like, why don't you just come with us on the drive, because if we have 5 million children, and it's going to be hard to drive with like a newborn baby and like 500 children, which I mean, really, I think she had 3 at the time. Yeah, she had 3. And so I was like, sure, I'll do that. I'll stay for like a week, and we'll just see how I feel. I fell completely in love with this area. Like I came here and I was like, and this was a point in my life where like I didn't feel like myself. I was making really poor decisions. I was not being my best self. And I came here and it was like I felt like it was the first time that I could breathe and I could actually see myself again. So after 1 week of being here, I went home, I broke up with my boyfriend, I quit my job, I told my roommate, and 3 weeks later, my brother-in-law came to get me.
Wow.
And I've been here. They moved back home 4 months later. And I have been here. It will be 12 years in January. No, 12 years this December, I think.
That's amazing.
I got here December of 2008. So that would be 12 years this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I finished the scenes. It actually didn't take me that long. I think it took me like 20 minutes. Because like I said, like one of them was almost finished. And the next scene doesn't have any dialogue in it. So it was really just about me explaining what you're going to see visually, because she's kind of reacting in her own home by herself to something huge that had just happened. So those scenes were really easy to just like boom, bam, I'm done with them. And so I'm actually excited. That means I only have 5 scenes left for this entire like second act of my script. So I am really happy kind of with the way that I'm like breaking this down, because the problem with writing a script during like something like NaNoWriMo is that you're all about like throwing in as many words as you possibly can into your script, which doesn't really work. That's why I had this super inflated first act. And so I also, it's hard to track by words. And so I can sit down and say like, I'm gonna write a page, but then that means, you know, I just don't think that quantifying the work in terms of pages or word counts and stuff like that doesn't work for this type of a project. So just like something like that wouldn't really work for Carrie. Like she would just write her article. I think that breaking it down by scenes is really something that's working for me. So having an outline that I stick to, and then I know, okay, I just have to work on 1 scene. I just have to work on 3 scenes or whatever. I just feel like that's going to be such a better way for me to track or motivate me moving forward. So I'm going to write a little bit more today, and so let's go ahead and change my clothes for season 4.
I don't see why they couldn't make it work.
I couldn't believe it. I flew 3,000 miles to have Matthew McConaughey ask the same question I've been asking myself for years.
I mean, look at him. I mean, he is such a great guy. I mean, I don't know anybody any cooler than Mr. Big. My only question, really, is what the fuck is Carrie's problem? You know? What do you think?
Well, I don't particularly think it was just her problem. 'Cause, well, actually, he had some, commitment issues.
Well, that's bullshit, Carrie, and you know it!
Hey you guys, so I have to say, yes, I'm carrying shoes again. This was probably the look that when I was kind of mapping out what I was going to wear, that I was most excited for. I think it's probably because it's probably the outfit that I just looked at the picture and was like, I know exactly what I have in my closet. That's like what I wear all fall year long, or like all fall season. That's my type of style. So I'm gonna pop up the picture that I'm basing this on. So this is just like, I honestly don't even know what season this is. I threw it on season 4 because I don't really know. I think this picture might have been season 2 or 3. I'm not 100% sure. But it's just such a really just simple, classic look, where she's just hanging out on the doorstep, like on the steps to her brownstone, and she's drinking a beer. So I don't know, that's my style 100%. So this is the one that I was just like, yes, I just hope it's not too hot when I have to film this one. So here are the shoes I'm gonna wear, because I don't really have any like big bright bold kinds of shoes like you would normally see Carrie in, but I have these just classic black boots that I think would be so cute. I'm wearing a pair of black leggings and of course just a simple gray shirt. So I love this look. I'm not going to talk about it much more. So I'm also excited because I think that I am just like cruising through the script, because I just looked at the outline to see what I have to work on for this kind of segment of the vlog, and I'm going to do 2 more scenes. But again, I think these I'm going to be able to bang out super quickly. So I have another scene where it's like a lot of description, but I could practically almost just like copy and paste what's in my outline into the actual draft, because a lot of it again is just stage direction. It's just a paragraph of like, this is what happens, because there's not dialogue. She's not interacting with anybody. She's seeing something and reacting to it. And that's all that's in this scene. So the next, basically everything that's in the rest of Act 2 is just a lot of short scenes where you see something and then you move on to another scene. She sees something, she's in a different place. So it's just cutting to a lot of different scenes very rapidly. And so those don't take any time at all to write, or at least I don't think they will be. So I'm gonna do the next 2 scenes. Really, there's almost no dialogue in these 2 again. So there's a little bit in the second one. The first one is none. Like, she sends a text message. That's the closest thing that I have to like writing out some sort of dialogue scene, is that she has to send a text to her best friend. So let's go ahead and get ready for season 4. As we speed to this endless road to the destination of who we hope to be, I can't help but whine, are we there yet? And I think that is such a great question, especially for like what our channels are about, because I am such an impatient person. Like, I know the life I want to have. I know the person I want to be. I know the dreams that I have, and I just want to freaking get there. So if you spend any time like watching my videos, you'll see like I keep coming up with these ideas. I'm like, I'm going to do this thing in like 1 month. I'm going to do this thing by this date. And then it's 2 years later and I still have not done anything, because the idea of what I want to do and my actual life and ability to do those things do not line up at all. At all. Unless I want to not sleep.
Right.
So
I think it's about the journey.
Yeah.
I don't know, like I used to be an impatient person, and then one day I I don't know, just, I mean, looking back now, wasn't bad luck, but at the time I thought, oh my gosh, the worst thing ever happened to me. And I was like, why didn't I appreciate where I was before? And then ever since then I've kind of been like, No, like where I am is like really great, because like what if I never make those dreams? Then like my whole life is spent like chasing after something I never attained, and that just feels worse to me.
Yeah.
And
So-
how do you know when you've arrived? And once you've
Yeah.
arrived, I feel like that's one of my fears is like, okay, what if all of my dreams come true? Then what am I going to work towards? Because working towards something is what makes you happy, I guess, when you start to see like progress and you start learning new things. And if you cap it at like, okay, once I reach this, I'll have arrived and I'm done, then like, well, your life is going to be boring now because you won't have anything else to work for. And I feel like it's about the journey. Just like enjoy the journey, enjoy the ups and downs and all the things you can learn, and always have something to be working towards. Because once you don't have something to work towards anymore, your life will be boring.
Also, what
I
if you
think.
don't like your goal because you've never experienced it before, and like you get it and you realize, wow, this isn't me. It's kind of like when you're a kid and you really want to try ice cream for the first time because everyone says it tastes so good, and then your first flavor is like pistachio or something, and you're like, what is this? Why was I so excited? Actually, I do love pistachio, but that is
Pistachio is really good.
yeah.
But if you gave it to like a 5-year-old, they would be like, bleh.
yeah,
Can
so
you
like
even
that's
melt
what
the
I
baby?
mean. Like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm the only whiny impatient bitch over here. Like, I'm just like, I want my life now. This is what I want. Like, I want to be published. I want someone to like my stuff. I want lots of money. I want to be financially stable. I want to live in a night. I want to move to New York City. Like, this is the life that I want to have, and I just want to freaking have it. And then I can be living my dream life and being super happy. I mean, I'm happy now, obviously, but like, I want my life, my little dream life, and I just want to do it now.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, the day people are seeing this, it's my birthday and I'm just getting older, so they're just gonna keep coming. So can I just like have my dream life so I can have the most of my life to enjoy it? Because I am impatient. I want what I want, and I want it now.
Mm-hmm.
You're a
That
very
also means-
forward-thinking person. I'm a nostalgic person. I tend to look back a lot and be like, those were the good old days. And so I think I like to surround myself with people like you, Amara, because it reminds me to like think forward as well, like have things to be excited about and to look forward to, as well as appreciate where you are now and, you know, be grateful for your past. But I think it's good to have, we need all kinds of people.
Yeah.
I think I need to like cut this little clip and like play it for myself on my alarm clock every morning. So when my alarm does go off at 5 a.m. to tell me to get up to do the writing, I won't just turn the alarm off and get up 5 minutes before I have to be at work. Because especially now that I'm working from home and going to get ready for work means leaving that room and walking into this one, I tend to hit the snooze a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to have something to tell me to get up at 5 a.m. and do the things that I want to do, film the videos, edit the videos, or write the words and do all the things, read the books I want to read, because once the kids get up, it's all over until 11 o'clock at night when the kids are sleeping, the house is cleaned. And then at that point, I'm pooped and I just want to go to sleep because I'm old.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, it's definitely like Hudson was saying, like, it's definitely about the journey. Like, because if you think about it, I'm also super nostalgic. I live in the past. Like, I'm like, I don't want to let go. But I'm trying to like force myself to really be more present and like just be grateful for this, like for like literally the present, because this is, if you think about it, it's the only thing that actually exists. Like the past doesn't exist anymore. Like the future does not exist. It's literally just now, like every second, like right now. So to like, if you like pin your, you know, your happiness or whatever on like a future moment that doesn't exist, you're never going to be happy. Like it's such a waste of like this time. Like it's a waste of that journey of getting there. Like it's so important to try to be happy and like appreciate the moments leading up to all the things that like you want to accomplish. And that's something that I feel like a lot of people struggle with, is like people are always like, oh, when I get this house, when I get a book published, when I finish writing this story, I'll be happy, I'll be better, like I can like when I get a new place, I can start my YouTube channel, or I could like, you know, we kind of like project things into the future, and like yeah, when those things happen, then it'll be good. And then it's like there's so much wasted opportunity and like so much wasted time now, where you can be really enjoying your life and like just thriving, you know. So I want to we just have to thrive, okay?
Happiness is a state of mind, not an object.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And like when you actually like sit and think about it, you're like, oh dang, right. But I feel like it's hard to do that, like especially because like we're so fast paced here and stuff, and we're always just like goals. But it's like let's slow down a little, yeah, and like enjoy the process, like enjoy getting there. And that's what I love about this AuthorTube stuff is like we're kind of documenting our journey, and you know when we do reach those goals, if and when, we can look back at the journey, you know, and appreciate it.
Yeah, that was really easy. It took me like less than 10 minutes. I just copy and pasted the paragraph from my outline into the draft. I might edit that a little bit more later. I mean, I added, the first one was really me. I just copy and pasted because this is exactly what needs to be in the second scene. I didn't add anything to it. I just popped it in the script. And then I will have to reformat it because it should be in a different kind of format, but whatever, that's what editing is for. And then the second scene that I had to write, I didn't copy and paste it, but I did kind of almost, like I just kind of rewrote the first couple of lines, and then I did add a very small amount of dialogue because, again, she has to interact with somebody, but it's like 20 seconds that she's talking to somebody. So it was like a couple of lines. She walks away, she comes back, she asks a question, we're done. That's the end of the scene. So I don't know, like, but I'm really, really liking where this is going. Again, it's kind of like I've already had all these thoughts in my head, but to see them on paper and flowing with the rest of the story, I have not felt this excited for my idea or like for my story in such a long time. So I don't know if it's the structure, if it's the story, if it's looking at this beautiful backdrop of New York City while I'm writing, or maybe it's the shoes. I don't know. But something is driving in a way that it hasn't in such a long time, and I'm just like, I don't know. I'm just excited. So, anyways, let's go ahead and move on to the next couple of scenes that I have to write.
Alone I felt, and it really hit me. I am 35 and alone.
You are not alone.
No, I know I have you guys, but... And I hate myself a little for saying this, but... It felt really sad not to have a man in my life who cares about me. No special guy to wish me happy birthday. No goddamn soulmate. And I don't even know if I believe in soulmates.
Don't laugh at me, but maybe we could be each other's soulmates. And then we could let men be just these great, nice guys to have fun with.
Well, that sounds like a plan.
I'm 35. 35 is not 25.
Thank God.
I'm 35.
Oh, shut the fuck up. I'm 140.
So season 5 was a little hard to figure out how I wanted to dress because it was a very short season, and I knew kind of what I wanted, but I didn't have anything exactly like what she wore. So in season 5, in the first episode, she starts working, she starts writing for Vogue magazine. So she hasn't ditched her column or anything like that, but she's also freelance writing for Vogue, which is exciting because she loves shoes, she loves fashion, and now she's able to write for one of the biggest and best fashion magazines around. And so what she wears on her first day, I'll try to pop up a picture if I can find one, but what she wears on her first day is this like pinstripe kind of skirt outfit thing. And I don't have very many skirts because the thing is, Carrie's a size 2 and I am definitely not a size 2. And so I don't really feel comfortable or confident usually in short sleeves or short skirts or dresses or anything really like that. I feel most comfortable in, pants that cover my big old booty and anything as long as possible, right? So trying to model after such a fashionable woman, this show was also 20 years ago, so that also poses its own kind of issues. It's just hard. It's hard, but I think I did the best I could. So I have just this, I don't know if you can even see it because I don't have a good spot to put you guys in, but I have this black and white kind of top here, and I've got the sleeves here. I love this. I got some pinstripe pants. So that's gonna have to do it for season 5. It's as close as I can get, but I think Carrie would definitely rock something like this. She'd prefer a skirt, but maybe it's winter time and she doesn't want to get her legs cold. I don't know. Anyways, so let's go ahead and start writing because we only have a few scenes left until Act 2 is finished. Again, it's really just what you're seeing and not really what she's not interacting with anybody because she's on the move to from one place to another. So she's going to interact a little bit with somebody. So I think, again, it's just going to be a lot of just transitioning this scene into the script and adding a few lines of dialogue. And then the next one is the same thing. What you're going to see, who she's going to talk to, there's going to be maybe 3 lines of dialogue, and then that's all she wrote. Literally, that's all I will be writing for these scenes. So I'm gonna test myself, and I'm gonna say it's gonna take me 8 minutes to do this.
And then I think that this next one I really liked for the season 5 question, and I think this is so perfect because so many of these videos are coming out right now with the my wildest publishing dreams or whatever. So this question is, what is the harm in believing? And obviously in Sex and the City, she's talking about believing in love and relationships and stuff like that. But I think for us, especially because so many of these really fun, super wild videos are coming out, mine, I'm going to feel mine's going to be pretty wild because I have some really pretty, these are, little spoiler, in my goal, Sarah Jessica Parker is my best friend, and because she has twins and I have twins, I'm going to move to New York City, and we're going to run into each other on the street, and she's going to know who I am because she's going to have seen my show on TV, and we're going to become best friends. Best friends. And she's going to comment on my shoe.
That's so cute.
So, what's the harm in believing in these crazy wild, do you feel I think these videos are really fun and we kind of laugh at ourselves a little bit, but obviously, these are real dreams that we're all having and, ideas in our head that, she could be my friend.
Mm-hmm.
But, is there any harm in having these wild publishing goals or whatever?
I feel like the only, real harm is kind of what we talked about before, where if you're pinning your happiness on achieving those dreams. So if you're unhappy unless or until you get those things, then there is harm in believing. But in itself, believing in something amazing, I don't think there's necessarily harm. It's just how you go about everything else. I don't know.
No,
Yeah,
I
I
agree.
think you nailed it with if you're pinning your happiness on that, because then you're setting yourself up for the possibility of being disappointed, and then that is going to hurt to be I really believed this was going to happen and it didn't, and so now I'm not happy. Whereas I think it's good to have big dreams and to be able to have fun thinking about them, and at the same time be okay with if they didn't happen. That'd be great if they did, but if they don't, I will be okay. I will be happy because my happiness does not depend on these dreams coming true.
Yeah.
I also think, I agree with both of you, 100%. But on top of that, something that I asked myself when I did the video was just am I writing for these dreams or am I writing because I love writing? And I think that's with anything in life. if you're only doing something to get this end goal of these wild dreams, then don't do the thing. Like, you're not doing it for the right reason. You should be happy just because you wrote. And I think that that's really important as well when it comes to wild dreams.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely right. I still want Sarah Jessica Parker to be my best friend, though, so I'm just saying. But no, I don't think that there's any harm in, like, as long as you realize that, like, there's a difference between a goal and a wild dream. You know what I mean? Like, I think that it's absolutely possible, and I believe in myself, and I believe in my creativity, and I believe in my skills to know that, and also my ambition and my tenacity to know, like, I'm not going to give up until this happens. Sarah Jessica Parker becoming my best friend because we ran into each other in New York City or she watched my video, that's not realistic. And if that doesn't happen, I'm gonna be okay.
Yeah.
I will be okay, I think, maybe. I mean, I've gone this long without her being my best friend. I think I'll survive. But I mean, if she was, that would just be so amazing. So maybe I should tag her on Instagram.
Do it. Just do it. I mean, what's the harm?
Yeah, so it was kind of fun to time myself a little bit, kind of like doing a sprint with myself. And it took me just under 10 minutes to write those two scenes. And now I only have 2 more scenes left to go. That's pretty exciting. So now we're going into the last season of the show, which was broken up into 2 parts because they did break them up. So you had season 6 part 1 and then season 6 part 2, and then that is all. That's it until you get the Sex and the City movie, which I think I mentioned this earlier. One movie is fantastic. I actually just rented it and rewatched it again because I forgot that movie, the first Sex and the City movie, was so good. The second one I'm never gonna watch again. Like, it was just, I just want to know what they were thinking. It was just not good at all. So if you are a fan of the show or you've never watched it before and you're gonna go watch it because of this, watch the entire series, binge it on HBOMAX, watch the first movie because that is so good, and then that's the end of the series. that's all you're ever gonna see from Carrie and her friends. So I'm gonna go ahead and change my clothes and we're gonna go ahead and finish Act 2.
I can't believe you gambled all that money away. We could be in a limo right now.
You told me to. I thought we were taking the jet. You couldn't have broken up with him tomorrow?
What, and lose my dignity?
Don't let me have any more of these.
Anyone up for playing old maid?
Aren't we?
I'm in.
I'm in. Oh, wait.
Oh my God! No.
Excuse me. Would you mind taking our picture? Thank
Oh
you.
yeah.
This is a moment we're gonna want to remember.
Turns out it was.
So here we are. It is season 6 part 1. I kept my pants on because I just don't feel like changing them, or my shoes. I'm still wearing the same boots that I was wearing earlier because they're comfortable and I still feel like there's something that Carrie would wear. I did change my shirt, however, and I love this one. There's not really a episode in season 6 or anything that I would say like this models after. It's more just throughout the series she does wear a lot of pieces that have like one shoulder. And I just thought that this was, I saw this top in my closet and thought, I just feel like this is something that Carrie would wear. And it's pretty and it's feminine. And I also do feel like towards the end of the series, she stopped wearing so many of the crazy outfits because she was getting older. She's like she's like almost 40 or something. So I think that it makes sense that her look would stop being so wild and it starts to be a little bit more classic, or and also a lot more like big designer dresses, big designer stuff, which I don't know, that's kind of what I was feeling when I saw this shirt and the vibe I wanted to go for. So now we only have 2 scenes left to write and then I'm done with Act 2, so I'm just gonna do 1 scene and call it a day. I almost don't even feel like I should count this one, because literally I'm pretty sure I'm going to just be copy and pasting from my outline, because again, there's no dialogue, it's just what you're seeing, and how I read this here is exactly what needs to be conveyed. So I almost feel like I'm cheating. But whatever. So I'm gonna go into my computer with this cute shirt on, and I'm going to copy and paste a line from my outline into my writer duet document, and we're gonna call that a scene.
When does criticism that's constructive become deconstructive? Are there times when the ladies should just shut the F up? So, or when, yeah, so basically this is, we can kind of take the last part out of it really, because that's more, again, talking about a relationship kind of situation. And when people were, I think if I remember correctly in the episode, somebody told one of them to shut the F up. And that was like a whole thing. But I think the beginning part of the question is really good, is when does criticism that's constructive become deconstructive? And I think especially because in this space where we're giving our writing over to other writers and we're asking for criticism, I think sometimes you can get really great feedback, but the fear, I think, at least for me, because nobody's ever actually read any of my stuff, is that sometimes because we are all writers, we might not be looking at it, we're looking at it too closely or too fine-tuned. And so like there was times when I was beta reading for a friend, and she had very specific questions that she wanted us to look into that was more overarching and like more like pacing and this and that, and people were going into the comments and really nitpicking. Mm-hmm. And it's like, that's not really the feedback she was looking for right now. She was more looking for, is this character believable or not? Is this way or that? Because it was like a very early draft. And so I think that that's kind of the fear, is that because we all understand the writing process, or what should go there, and when you should put this word, or when we should cut this out, that they're going to go in a little too zeroed in, instead of like just a random reader that mm-hmm. doesn't do this, that isn't actually trying to write their own stuff, is going to have a different idea about it, you know? So like when I finish my script, like I know you've mentioned, you know, I can send it to you, so I'd love to do that, and especially because you look at scripts for a living, you know what I mean? So like you would be such an amazing person to get feedback from. But I also have a friend that I've known for years that's going to read it, and she doesn't have anything. She's not a writer. She doesn't even read books. Like she's just going to read because she likes to watch TV and she likes me. Mm-hmm. And so like, and that's the perfect person, because she just watches TV, and I want to see, can she see this in her head, and does she like the character or not? Or does she understand, like, does it seem believable, the language that they're using, or the story that's being told? And so I think it's important to have kind of both aspects of like somebody that like you would be really great, because like you can tell me like all the many things I'm probably doing wrong. But also having that other side of things. And I think that's kind of the hard part when you're giving somebody constructive feedback too, is like, how constructive is your feedback, and how should you be phrasing it?
I think the criticism becomes too much, constructive criticism becomes too much when the person who you're giving it to is not listening. I think that's when you stop. Mm-hmm. I personally like constructive criticism. I also think, like, I don't know if I get any but like, so this is the other thing. As a receiver of constructive criticism, I always tell anyone who gives it to me, you have to give me 24 hours to digest it, because of course I'm going to fight it. I'm human. It's like a survival instinct. But after those 24 hours, I'm generally like, oh my gosh, thank you. Thank you for like risking everything in that 24 hours of like emotional crazedness to tell me the truth.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my opinion. Also, I have to run really quick, but I'll be right back. So that's why I wanted to quickly give my answer. I'll be right back.
And I actually have to go because my battery's dying, but also we're going on a road trip, and so we have to.
It was really nice meeting you, Railee.
Well, bye, Railee. Thank you so much. I love you. Bye.
Yeah, thank you for including me. This was so fun. It was fun to like get to know you guys better.
I know.
I feel like I should be like looking down at your squares. Like, Brady Bunch style.
Well, bye. Have fun on your road trip.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Well, I feel like, and I have a personal experience with this. When I was in school, in my screenwriting class, we all had to write like a short script, and mine got chosen to be produced in our final year. So we were going through like rewrites. So we were like workshopping the script, and I think one thing that happened with me is I also really love constructive criticism, and I love hearing people's opinions and like really making my story the best that it can be. But I think constructive criticism can become problematic when, first of all, when there are a lot of people giving their opinion, and when the writer isn't absolutely sure what their story is, like what they're trying to tell. And I remember, oh my God, I did so much crying during the revision of that script. But like, so I had my story, and my teacher gave me her feedback, very thorough. Everyone in the class, literally, like we workshopped it, we went through, and like I got all these scripts back with like all these notes. And so like as I was rewriting it, I was like changing things. And I was becoming so unhappy because I got to a point where I was like, this isn't even the story that I had originally set out to tell. So I started to lose that, and it really kind of broke me down a bit. And that's definitely when things like started to fall apart. But then I revisited what story I was trying to tell, and that's when I was able to like bring it back. But I think that's when criticism can become deconstructive, is when there's too much of it.
Yeah.
And the person writing it isn't absolutely sure what the core, like you don't need to like, because things can always change, and there's always like a better way to like tell the story that you want to tell, but you need to know the core of that story that you want to tell. I think you need to have that that strong, like stable foundation to be able to take all the constructive criticism and make it better instead of, letting it kind of crush you.
I think that that's really good feedback, like especially because my novel I put that on hold in December, thinking I was going to be done with the script way faster than I was. But like I feel like, is it me, or does this year feel like it's flown by really, really fast? Like
honestly, it simultaneously feels like it's gone by so fast, but also slow.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of thinking of it. But so like script is really the first thing that's going to be coming out, and it's very strange because that idea I've had for less time than my novel, but I feel like the core of what I know I need it to be is a lot more solid.
Yeah.
And I think that's partly because with my novel, I understand like the overall story behind it and like the plot points and the things that I want to do, but it also is very difficult for me as a now 35-year-old person to be writing in the voice of a 17-year-old. But me writing as a 35-year-old in the voice of a 31, 32-year-old is very easy because that's my age demographic, that's my age group, that's the person that I am. Like I can relate to this character so much more because we're the same age pretty much, like so it's easier for me to write as an adult than to try to write this young adult novel. But my novel would never work in an adult setting. It has to be about these teenagers. Like that's what the whole idea of it is. But trying to write a teenager is so difficult when you're in your 30s and trying to do it right. And like one thing that I absolutely hate is when adults try to write teenagers and they use stupid language. Like, I'm sorry, kids don't really talk like that, I don't think. And if they do, then they're freaking stupid. Like, what was it? Have you guys seen Jennifer's Body?
Yes.
I love the movie, okay? I absolutely love that movie. But the way that they talk, like, what does she say? Like, that's jelly or something like that around jelly? Like, do kids say that?
Because that's lime jello.
Lime jello. That's what I'm trying. Do kids really say that? Or is that just some adult trying to act like a young person in this horror movie about a girl that got like, whole thing. Which, by the way, I totally love that movie.
I'm really partial to Megan Fox, so I really.
Okay, that took me 30 seconds. Okay? Like, I didn't even film it because it took me 30 seconds to turn the computer on, open up, because I have the outline in one tab and I have my document in another tab, like in the same program. It took me less than 30 seconds to just copy and paste and move on. So, let's go ahead and change into a different dress and we'll end out the series.
So, Carrie, what was your news?
Oh, Berger broke up with me on a Post-it.
On a Post-it?
Yep. Read it and weep, my friends.
I'm sorry, I can't. Don't hate me. The motherfucker's concise.
First of all, I thought you were going to break up with him.
Yeah, I was, and I should have, but he said that he wanted to try to work things out, AKA leave in the middle of the night.
A Post-it? That's infuriating.
Yeah, I remember when breaking up over the phone was considered bad form.
I once was broken up with by a guy's doorman. I'm sorry, Miss Hobbs. Jonathan won't be coming down. Ever.
I miss having a doorman.
All right, you guys, so we're zoomed in a little close. So we're going to be a little close and personal for the last section here because I wanted you to see that we have left New York and we are now in beautiful Paris, France. And yes, I'm touching the entire Eiffel Tower, which is probably not so realistic. So maybe it should be like closer like this to show how far away it is. I don't know, whatever. We're in Paris, France. Two episodes of the entire series are called An American Girl in Paris, Part 1 and 2, I think is what they called it. Either way, so it's American Girl in Paris, Parts 1 and 2, where she finally gets to go to Paris. These last 2 episodes, they just give me every feeling that you can possibly feel. I rewatched again the series and I just cried so much through the last 2 episodes. They are so good. And one thing I will say that I love about this series in the final season is that it really strips away the comedy and the sex and all of the kind of like flashy, you know, controversial type stuff that it had, and it really went to a serious place with all of our characters where you really get to see all of their arcs kind of come to an end and you see their growth, and it's amazing. Like the last part, like season 6 part 2 is my favorite season of all the seasons. I just love everything about it. I love everything about it. My outfit, it's kind of hard to see again because we are so close, but she wears, when she decides to go to Paris, she's got this really cute outfit that she's been waiting forever to wear, and it's this kind of like black and white striped skirt and shirt with like this giant flower on it. I obviously don't have anything even close to that, so the closest thing I could find was this beautiful dress that is blue and black stripes. So that's what I'm gonna wear. It's as close as I can come, okay? So I'm going to hang out now in beautiful Paris, France, looking at the Eiffel Tower, and write the final scene, which again is very, very little to write, and I pretty much wrote most of it when I did my outline. So I think I'll see you guys in like 5 or so minutes, and we'll say goodbye.
There's 2 that we could answer. Are we shooting all over ourselves? Meaning like, I should have done this, I should have done that. Like, you know, do we tend to like go backwards too much? And I think that that's a good kind of writing question too. I think we should go with that one, especially because that one can go, like I said, a lot of these I've liked because we've been able to talk about them seriously or also like just writing related. So the question is, it's why are we shooting all over ourselves? And I think that that's a really good point, especially in, you know, trying to tie it back to writing, is we question so often, should I have done it this way? Should I be doing first person, third person? I've gone back and forth with whether or not I need to completely rewrite everything I've written so far in my novel to be first person. Because there's certain aspects of it that I think it could work, but then there's also certain scenes that would never work first person. And so I just get all up in my head about what should I do, or should I do it this way, should I do it that way. People talk about, oh, I don't like this trope, but then other people love this trope, and the trope exists in my book, so should I get rid of it or should I not? And by the way, funny story, I've been meaning to tell you, because you call your story Ben, which I'm assuming Ben is a character. One of my favorite characters' name is Ben.
Oh, I love it.
So, and poor Ben is gonna heartbroken, but yeah, because I have kind of a little bit of like a love triangle thing that happens, and I cannot take it out. And if somebody says that it should not be in there, I do not care, because if I take it out, it will ruin this book, the next one, and the one that comes after it. Mm-hmm. So it has to be there because it's a fundamental layer of the foundation of this story.
Yeah.
So, but so many people say they don't love triangles, so I don't know if it should be in there or not, but I can't take it out, so.
Yeah, I feel like it's hard because as writers and as just as humans, other people's opinions of things really affect us, and especially when there's so many with writing. I know for me with I also had a POV crisis where I wasn't sure if I should write it in third or first. I feel like there's so many options and there's so many different ways to tell a story, write a story, and it's hard to be sure what is the best way. You just want it to be the best way that it possibly can, and so we're just I don't know, it's hard to, it's understandable that we're oh, should I do it this way or should I do it that way, because there's so many different ways to do it. And if you're not, unless you have an exact idea, solid idea of what you're doing and how you want to do it, I feel it's really normal to have that question, should I be doing it this way, should I be doing it that way? I have no advice I have no advice about that, but yeah, I know I get it. I don't know why we do it. There's a lot of reasons, but it's hard not to, I think, not do that.
I think a part of it too comes back to what we talked about a little earlier too, about how if you have a solid idea of what the story is, you don't question as much. I don't have any questions about my script, really, other than I need to go back and just really fine tune and be a little bit more strict with an outline for it. Because with my novel, I can just let it go off the rails. But when I started doing that with the script, I was I come up with all these extra things to throw in there that I'm now ripping back out that were never part of it, because this format doesn't work for pantsing at all. At all, because then it goes totally crazy, and then you have 42 pages or 41 pages of a 60-page thing, and you're just getting into the second act. So that doesn't work. That's why I need to be a lot more strict in what I'm doing to keep it tight to what I initially envision in my head and not let all this extra stuff go into it. But at the core, I'm solid in what the story is supposed to be, and the main scenes and the feelings and the kind of things that I want to drop here that are going to come out later. And that's very solid.
That's it. That's all I have for you. If you stuck through to the end of this video, I applaud you. I have a feeling that this video was just insanely long, because I had the change-ups and I had the chats with my girlfriends, which again, thank you so much to Railee Bradshaw, Diane Marie, and Hudson McCarthy. I love you guys so much, and I am so happy to have you guys in my life and to have you as my Charlottes, Mirandas, and Charandas. The fact that they made themselves available to do this with me, and they've been so supportive throughout the entire process, because it's taken me a couple of weeks of talking to them and planning things out and letting me go into our group chat every single day and be I don't know, I don't think this is gonna look good. They're just amazing women, and if you're not following them, you're crazy, and you should go do that right now. Now, with that being said, thank you so much for watching this video and for celebrating my birthday with me. I'm really excited for the progress that I made. I think in terms of like the writing vlog or trying somebody else's type of routine type thing, this was definitely a success. It was fun to change clothes and to feel like Carrie, to curl my hair, which is something I never do. It was all fun and games, but being able to structure and plan things out and to break it into small chunks was a really great thing, and to kind of treat this just like a weekly column. I think that's how I need to do it from here on out. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and end the vlog. There is a little something that you will be seeing at the very end, so make sure not to click off right now. Stay through to the very end, because instead of my normal outro, I have some parting words from Carrie Bradshaw for you. So with that, please go write some words and read a book, and I will see you guys very, very soon with another video. Bye!
I am someone who is looking for love. Real love. Ridiculous, inconvenient, consuming, can't live without each other love. And I don't think that love is here in this expensive suite, in this lovely hotel in Paris.
Look, I need your advice. You three know her better than anyone. You're the loves of her life. And the guy's just lucky to come in fourth. But I do love her. And if you think I have the slightest chance, I'll be on the next plane to Paris. I'll roam the streets until I find her. I'll do anything. But if you think that she really is happy, well, I wouldn't want to wreck that for her. And I'll be history.